Welcome to this podcast on Aldo Rossi, an architect who truly changed how I think about architecture. Rossi wasn't just about creating new designs, he made us reflect on how history and memory shape the spaces we build. As a leader in postmodernism, he emphasized the importance of historical context. Instead of pushing the past aside, he wove it into his designs, making old and new come together in a way that felt both fresh and timeless. His approach earned him the Pritzker Architecture Prize in the 90s, which felt fitting because his work forces us to rethink how we view architectural history. As I explore some of his key drawings, it's clear that Rossi's architecture goes beyond functionality. It connects us to deeper ideas of memory, place, and identity. His designs make you reflect on how architecture can honor the past while speaking to the future. Aldo Rossi's drawings are iconic for their abstract, poetic, and deeply conceptual nature. They feel like more than technical tools. They're works of art that provoke thought and spark imagination. This poetic quality invites interpretation, blurring the line between art and architecture. Rossi's works remind me that architecture isn't just about structures, it's about ideas, emotions, and how we experience the world. The use of simple shapes and childlike drawings in this image feels like a choice to communicate ideas in a playful and accessible way. By stripping forms down to their essence, Rossi challenges us to look beyond complex details and focus on the fundamental aspects of space and structure. This makes me question whether simplifying design can actually make it more powerful, as it allows the audience to connect with the core idea without distractions. The pop of bold color in the drawing break up the simplicity and draw attention to specific elements, possibly highlighting key features or adding an emotional layer. The childlike aesthetic feels like a way to make architecture universal, something anyone can relate to. The handwritten text adds another layer. It might explain certain elements, clarify ideas, or even reflect Rossi's emotions or a story behind the design. The personal, almost intimate style feels like an invitation into his thought process, making the drawing more engaging. It reminds me how much depth text can add to architectural sketches, turning them into something more than just visual representations. When I look at Rossi's drawings, what really catches my eye is how simple they are. He doesn't use a lot of tiny details, but instead focuses on the big shapes and how everything fits together. I think that's really impressive because it shows how architecture can still feel powerful without being super complicated. In this drawing, I noticed he uses clean lines and shapes that feel very neat and balanced, like everything has a purpose. I also saw that in the background of the drawing, he added some of his other buildings. That made me think about how he wanted to show how his designs all connect, like they belong to the same family of ideas. It's almost like he's building a story with his architecture, and I find that really inspiring. It makes me think that architecture doesn't have to shout to be beautiful, it just has to make sense and feel right. In some of his drawings, like this one, Aldo Rossi makes buildings look like toys or little objects, like a teapot or a soda can. He mixes really big things like skyscrapers with small, everyday things, and it makes you stop and think. It's like he's playing with how we see the size of stuff, making big things feel small and small things seem important. They look simple, like shapes you might play with as a kid, but it's not random. He does it on purpose to show that buildings are more than just places we live or work. They can make us feel something or remind us of something special. When he puts a huge skyscraper next to a tiny pencil or a Coke can, it's like he's saying, hey, look, even the biggest things are connected to the small things we use every day. It makes you wonder how all these things fit together in the world. Rossi's drawings feel like a game, but they also make you think in a big way about how we see and understand buildings and the world around them. In the fourth drawing, I noticed that Rossi's style looks like kind of a puzzle. At first, the pieces seem to be all over the place, not really connected. But the more I look at it, the more I think it's on purpose. It's almost like Rossi is showing how cities aren't built from one big idea, but from a bunch of different pieces, each part from a different time or history. It's like the pieces of the drawing represent different memories or ideas that, when put together, make a bigger picture. I also saw that the shapes in the drawing are a little abstract, but still remind me of things that I've seen before. Maybe a dome, a tower, or a roofline that makes me think of a church or a theater. Rossi doesn't draw things exactly how they look, but the shapes still feel familiar. I think that's because he's not trying to show us exactly what the building is, but what it represents. It makes me think more about the idea of the building than just the details. Overall, the drawing isn't just about showing a building. It's about making us think differently about cities and architecture. Rossi is challenging us to see beyond just the shapes and really think about how buildings connect to time, memories, and the space around them. What's really interesting about this drawing is how some parts are colored and the others aren't. Sometimes when you look at it, it feels like the drawing is unfinished, almost like Rossi stopped in the middle of it. But I think that's on purpose. It makes you focus on certain areas, like he's saying, look here, this part is important. The parts without color feel like they're waiting for something, almost like they're open to your imagination. This unfinished look makes the drawing feel alive, like it's still a work in progress. Maybe Rossi wanted to show that architecture is never really done. Buildings and spaces are always changing, just like cities and the people in them. The mix of finished and unfinished areas gives the drawing a kind of energy. It's not static or stuck. It feels like it's growing and evolving. To me, it also connects how Rossi uses voids and solids. Just like the empty spaces around the buildings are meaningful, the uncolored parts in the drawing feels like they're full of potential. It makes me think that Rossi didn't want to give us all the answers. He wanted us to look closer, to imagine, and to think about what could be there. That makes the drawing even more powerful because it invites you to be part of it. Thank you for joining me in exploring Aldo Rossi's incredible approach to architecture. I hope this has inspired you to think about how design can go beyond function and connect with something deeper. Stay curious, keep questioning, and I see you next time.